It is snowing outside and a little chilly here in my apartment, but I'm excited to have you joining me today as we talk about fasting. So at the time of this recording, we are in the middle of the Lent season and we are approaching Passover this coming weekend. And then the following week is actually Passion Week, entering into Good Friday and Resurrection Sunday. And so I figured it was a really appropriate time to talk about fasting, since a lot of people do fast during this season, and diving into some of the things we can do during fasting to help. Because in Matthew chapter 6, verses 16 to 18, Jesus actually addresses fasting. And my Bible is over there. Hold on, I thought I had everything prepared. I'm back. I thought I had everything prepared. I do have the spot marked in my Bible and ready. I just left it over on the table. So in Matthew 6, verses 16 to 18, I'm going to go ahead and read for you. This is from the KJV-ER version, so the King James Easy Read. And it says, "Moreover, when you fast, be not as the hypocrites of a sad countenance, for they disfigure their faces, that they may appear to men to fast. Verily I say to you, they have their reward. But you, when you fast, anoint your head and wash your face, that you appear not to men to fast, but to your Father which is in secret, and your Father which sees in secret shall reward you openly." And so this is something that actually convicted me several years ago when I had started fasting, and I remember I would bring it up to everybody all the time as an excuse for why I was so tired, why I wasn't thinking straight, why I was grumpy, because I get hangry very easily. And so I'd be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm doing, I'm so sorry I'm fasting. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna, go ahead and warn you, I'm not thinking straight because of this." Friends, Jesus tells us not to do that we are not to act as the hypocrites the Pharisees did during that time, where they would make themselves like, "Oh, look how holy I am, I'm fasting." Instead, we are to, from the outside, not appear to be fasting from those. So anointing your head would be using oils. And did you know that essential oils can actually help you in fasting, to give you energy, to lift up your countenance, all sorts of things. We're going to talk about some of those here in a few minutes. But they can uplift you. Also, it says to wash your face. And I feel like for women today, that means if you normally wear makeup that day if you're going out. Now, if you're at home and you're not around anybody, totally different. But if you are going out in public, you don't want to make it look like, "Oh, I didn't put in the effort today because I'm more tired." And then again, going back to that explaining that you're fasting thing. So what are some of the things that you can do to help your body in fasting, the different ways of fasting? There are fasts in scripture that are prescriptive, where God laid out for the Jews exactly what they were allowed to eat and what they weren't allowed to eat. And you can follow some of those. Many people do follow those prescriptive fasts today. There are also fasts where you can do just a liquid fast. You can choose if you're fasting from one food in particular. You can do a water only fast. And I used to be the kind who would do water only fast all the time because I thought it was the hardest and it was the best, and therefore it was the most spiritual. And that's not always the case. The Lord spoke to my heart about that too several years ago. And so now every time before fasting, I always ask him, "What do you want me to give up this time? What is it? What kind of fast would you have me do, and for how long?" Not just assuming that it should be X, Y, or Z because like, "Oh, I want to get super deep, so it's going to be just water." Like, God knows what you need when you need it. And so sometimes I feel like even water only fasts are easier than some of the other fasting, depending on your circumstances at the time, your schedule, and all this kind of things. So if you are doing a liquid only fast, there are some things that I have found to be super helpful. One, if you can juice your own fruits and vegetables at home for your liquid fast, you are going to get a lot more nutrition that will uplift you and give you that brightened countenance. Then you can also use bone broth. So if you're fasting and it's cold outside, bone broth may be more your jam. Like in the summer, I love to do juices, and smoothies, but in the winter, I like to do my bone broth. And then I also like to add a scoop of Balance Complete or Pure Protein Complete to my coffee or to some tea, just to give me a little bit of nutrition to help keep me from crossing that hangry border. My husband appreciates that a lot too. And just to really keep some nutrition in me, but also it frees up the meal prep time. So yeah, juicing your own vegetables, bone broth, adding something like Balance Complete or Pure Protein Complete to a warm liquid if you're fasting in the winter time can be helpful. Ninja Red. Friends, you've heard me talk about Ninja a lot on this channel. It is one of my favorite things. It's a whole food drink. It's not just a juice. And so it has wolfberry puree in it, but it's liquid. And so I like to use Ninja because it's really helpful for blood sugar levels. So it helps to keep me from tanking as well and to keep that raised countenance that that those from the outside would not know that you're fasting necessarily. So I like doing that. Also, the Master Cleanse. You could do the Master Cleanse lemonade. However, I will say if you've never done a Master Cleanse before, be sure that you do a little bit of research on it first. Don't just dive in and make the recipe for the lemonade. You need to make sure that your kidneys are clear and all sorts of things first. But the Master Cleanse can be a really great thing to do as well because it is nourishing. It is a lemonade that's made with freshly squeezed lemons and grade B maple syrup and cayenne pepper, and that is very uplifting and energizing as well. So those are some great liquids if you're looking for some liquid fast things. But then if you're doing just water, or you could also use these of course in liquid as well, using some essential oils in your water can really help as well. So things like peppermint vitality, if we're talking about taking it internally and adding it to water, it would be peppermint vitality or citrus fresh vitality. Those are both really great at helping to create a satiated feeling. That's hard to say fast. A feeling of satiation. Feeling full. So it helps to curb those feelings of hunger and the appetite and the hangriness as well. So if you really feel yourself struggling, those can be really helpful to add to water. And they're also energizing and uplifting. Both of those blends are. Of course, we're talking about the vitality versions of both citrus fresh and peppermint when we're talking about taking them internally. And then ones that you can apply topically to help with your continence would be things like Joy. And if you're watching this video, and this is your first video on this channel, and you're thinking, oh my goodness, I thought she was talking about being a believer and fasting, and now she's talking about using some emotional oil, that freaks me out. Be sure you check out my video that I did recently on emotions and essential oils in the believer and how oils actually work. There's nothing crazy woo-woo about them. So you could use the oil of joy and place it over your heart or put it really wherever, diffuse it, and that can help you be uplifted throughout the day as well, and just to help you not cross that other side that would expose that you're fasting. So joy can be really helpful just for emotions, as well as valor. Valor can be helpful if you feel a little wonky at all while you're fasting, because it's wonderful at bringing balance to the body. And so when your body's kind of feeling off, valor is really helpful for balancing. And so I like to apply this to my wrist especially, and I'll put a drop on my wrist. I'll show you. We'll demonstrate. I know I'm at the very end of this bottle of valor, so I'm going to pop off the reducer to get the very last little bit out of here. And then I put a drop, whoops, or two. It's the very end. I have to open a new bottle. There we go. And then I'll put my right wrist on top of my left and just hold them together for a few minutes so that it can balance both sides of my body. And of course, breathe it in as well for several breaths. And those oils can be really helpful for emotions as well. Valor's also really good if you feel uptight or anxious about anything. It's really helpful to use during that time. It's very calming and balancing for the emotions as well as for the body. Last but not least, especially if you're doing it this time of year and it's cold near you, depending on where you're living, we're here in Colorado, and so the temperatures fluctuate. It's cold today, it was 70 on Saturday, so you never know. But if you're like me, my body temperature drops a lot when I fast, and I get freezing no matter what the temperature is. So I find nutmeg and Endoflex both to be very helpful oils for my body temperature. So nutmeg is a very warming oil. You can put it in the palms of your hands, rub it over your lower back, over where your adrenals are, and even rub it like over the front of your neck where your thyroid is. Breathe it in. You can put a drop into a warm beverage. You could put a drop under your tongue if you're using Nutmeg Vitality. Of course, the same for the beverage. It would be the Vitality version. And that is just a very warming oil. And so that can be helpful when your body temperature is not so warm. And if you find that your body temperature is lower like that, maybe using something like nutmeg instead of peppermint might be helpful, since peppermint can be cooling. And then Endoflex also is a blend that is designed, Endoflex Vitality is designed to support the endocrine system. And so you can similarly apply it over, if you're using the topical version, over your thyroid and your adrenals. If you're using the Vitality version, you could do a drop under your tongue a couple times during the day, and that can really help as well with your body temperature as well as your energy levels if you really feel like you're tanking during the day. So I hope those tips are helpful for you guys as you're entering into various seasons of fasting or considering fasting. Maybe you've never fasted before. If you've never fasted before, I highly encourage you to do it. Start for a short period of time. If you've never done a fast before, maybe fast for 12 hours. Maybe then fast for a day and then extend it, however long you feel the Lord leading. But I will say that the hardest times of fasting, if you feel the Lord leading you to do a longer fast, and you've never done one before, know that the first 2 days are the hardest. Once you make it through those 2 days, you cross this hump where your body's like, oh, okay, we're not eating at a normal level here. And it adjusts. And so I find the first 2 days to be exhausting. And on those days, I like to rest as much as possible if I'm fasting for a full 24 hours. If you're doing a fast where, say you fast until dinner, and so you may not have, you have dinner the night before, and then you fast until dinner again the next day, you're sleeping a good chunk of that anyway, and so you're just not eating for breakfast and lunch, that one's not quite as hard because I have dinner coming. You can tell yourself, I have dinner coming. I have dinner coming. But when it's an overnight and then another overnight, sometimes that can be a little tricky on your brain. Believe could be another great oil blend to use to breathe in and just ask the Lord to remind you why you're fasting and to trust His sustenance and that He will sustain you. Of course, I should give the disclaimer as well that if you're on any sort of medications or you have any blood sugar issues, like with diabetes or anything like that, be sure you are not fasting without consulting your physician so that you can work out a plan together and monitor what you need to monitor during those times. You never want to, put yourself in a position that could be dangerous for your body. So know your body, listen to your body, listen to the Lord, and He will lead you. May you be blessed during this Lenten season and Resurrection Sunday as we come up to that here in a couple weeks, depending when you're watching this video. And I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day or evening. Until next time, friends, cheers.